good morning, and good morning. How are you doing? How are you doing? It's been a couple of days since I spoke with you last. I tell you, today it's gloomy outside, but I'm happy inside. I'm happy. I realize that there's some things we cannot change. Weather's one of them. And sometimes we can't change other people. We can't change positions and we can't change possessions. We can't change, but we can change ourselves. What we look at, what we get into, what we get out of, where we're going, what we plan to do when we get there, all of that can be put up in today's session on doors. I did doors years ago. I want to say I might have done it maybe 3 years ago. And I had a different perspective than I did now. I probably still had some twists that I don't know why my eyes are running. I had probably had some twists then that I have still kept in for this time. But every once in a while, something just inspires me to talk about the fact that not all doors are meant to be entered into. Not all doors should be open to anyone that wants to enter. Like, I got a ring for a reason. My ring is that if I know you're coming, so even they don't even realize that the ring may just be a secondary, caution or precaution. But my first is that if I don't know you're coming here, you're probably not going to get in. You're not going to get in. So it has to be planned. Has to be planned out for me. That's how I live my life. Um, and I don't worry about every door that it exists, because some doors I will never go through. I'm never interested in going through those doors. But doors are just that. They can be opened and they can be closed. And sometimes we have a tendency to want to open the doors that have been closed to us. We don't know that they're closed to us because we're still out there jiggling the handle and knocking or ringing the bell. Let it go. Let it go. Make your door your own fortress, to your heart, to your head, to your just your understanding of life. Make it your own. Make it your own. So I found a couple of poems here that I really thought were good. Um, and the first poem is by Carl Sandburg. Carl Sandburg. And it says, "An open door says, 'Come in.' A shut door says, 'Who are you?' Shadows and ghosts go through such doors. If a door is shut and you want it shut, why open it? If the door is open and you want it open, why shut it? Doors forget, but only doors know what it is. Doors forget." Meaning the door doesn't care who comes in or goes out. So it also says that you are in charge of who gets it, even if you use yourself as the door. You know, how many people do you want having access to you? If you're considered to be precious, you're considered to be something of pure gold, you know, then you don't want everybody coming to you, at you, for you. So sometimes you have to close down the door. It might be to your head, it might be to your heart, it might be to your body, you know. Um, you just have to make those decisions. Those have to be decisions. Good morning, Joan. How are you doing? How are you doing? Good to see you in the space. But anyway, today our word is doors. And I have another one that I love too. These are the reason I wanted to go here is every once in a while I just encounter something that just says that door wasn't for me, or I opened this door because I want this person or these people to enter. But you are the discerning and the deciding factor. Sometimes doors are closed to you. You don't even know it because it has an open sign on it. Am I telling the truth? I am. I am. Sometimes the sign says open, 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 but then you go in and you might not be served. Might not. Somebody may never come to you and ask you, is there anything that they can help you with? So sometimes you also have to be the interpreter of what isn't said, what doesn't show, what's really happening, you know. So anyway, this second poem is called Open Doors by Melissa Kerman. It says, one door I left open because I lacked its key. And if I close the door, if I lose ability to re-enter, but I should have asked why. I craved access into a door that had a lock when I couldn't have its key. Another door I left open because although I rarely entered, I enjoyed the view. But I should have asked why. My interior wasn't enough to satisfy me without peering at an exclusive exterior. A third door I left open because the breeze cooled my warm house. But when a hurricane shattered my papers and scattered framed pictures, I should have asked why. I relied on outside temperature to pacify my home's inside. I should have asked why. Some doors I was allowed in but never invited in. Why I liked the option to leave. Why I viewed doors as safely nets when I could have reconstructed my own home to be safer. I could never find closure in my world of open doors. So I shut each and expected incessant knocking on mine. And yet, when I sat in silence, alone but not lonely, for the first time, I felt peace. That's a bad poem. You can't say nothing about this. This woman identified what that door shields from us, what it does. Our frustration, our hurts, our angers, you know, the lying, the possibility of stealing, all those things come through the door. We know nothing. We know nothing. But we end up with this is just a great poem for me because I understand it as it is applies to today's word. And it's a simple word, but to me it has significant meaning when we open doors, when doors are shut, when we don't have access, when we've been left out. Good morning, Adelia. Good morning. Good morning. Today our word is doors. And I wish you had heard that poem. I'm hoping that you did on your way in, but I might read it. If y'all prompt me again, Joan, if you prompt me again, I may read it at the end because to me, I think that poem is a wonderful poem. And it was on my saved list, but I don't know if I ever presented it. But this time I understood it and it really went with what we're talking about today. So what is a door? Have you ever been stuck behind one? You ever been stuck in an elevator? You ever been stuck, in a room where you couldn't get out of? I remember a client of mine telling me one time that they were being locked in their bedroom. And, I couldn't tell them how shocked I was, but I know things like that exist. I know. I know that people sometimes are basically cut off from their own movement, cut off for whatever the reasons are. So that becomes a scary thing to me. I don't want to be cut off. In fact, the older I get, the less I want something that makes me feel claustrophobic. I don't want that feeling, and I'm not all the way there yet. So, but I remember the last time when I flew out, because I've traveled since then, but when I went to Australia last year, the first leg of my flight, I was on the last seat on the plane. And that's in that area in the back that's next to the bathroom and does not have any kind of reclining capability. None of them have much. But I remember feeling claustrophobic. And I said, okay, And then I was close to the bathroom door. Who wants to fly a few hours for that kind of thing? But sometimes we just have to acknowledge that some doors aren't the best doors to be around. And they're doors that we don't need, let me put it that way, to gain access to. So doors, it says it's a hinge, sliding, or revolving barrier at the entrance to a building, a room, a vehicle, or a framework such as a cupboard. But it's also, they said, is a doorway, a portal, an opening, a hatch. I always was interested in people that had cars with a hatchback. And I said, wonder why they call it. Now I know it's a door that is hinged in such a way that goes up as opposed to going left or right, like the average doors that most of us go in and out of. But it's an exit, it's an egress, and it's an entry. So doors, to me, they have a powerful presence in our lives. They really do, even though it's an inanimate object. We don't really, we can't do much with it but open it or close it. That's it. And lock it. We can do that. Good morning, Kim, my sweet niece in California. How are you doing, baby? Love you, love you, love you. Thank you. But when we look at doors, we go through doors all day long. In our house, our car, we go to the post office, we go to the bank, go to the grocery store. Doors are very significant in our lives, but some doors are not always open, or they don't open easily for us. Anybody, it has nothing to do with size, with color, with it. Sometimes doors are not easily opened. So I always used to ask myself, what's the importance of a door that is closed during the regular hours of business? And a few people told me that for them it was security, because the violence in the area that they were located had so many things going on that they felt they needed to take care of themselves. Good morning, Debbie. How are you doing, my sweet friend? Love you, love you, love you. Today the word is doors, and how we are dealing with doors all day long, even if we only go in one and out one and back in that same door, such as our bedroom. It's still a door. Okay, it's still the door. But then when we move on in the word and we break it down, the D for me is doorway. You have to go into the room by going through the door, but passing through the doorway. An entrance to a room or building through a door. So they go together, the door and the doorway. It says it's basically the room access. It gives you, okay, yes, Debbie, we do have to make decisions about those doors. I have to remember to read the poem that I read prior to you getting in here. Sometimes the doors they're basically barriers to good, bad, and evil things. We just don't know. Sometimes we don't even understand what the significance of a door is. I'm going to tell you all something that happened to me, which was pretty creepy, pretty crazy. Years and years ago, undergraduate school, some guy was just so taken with me. And, I lived in a portion of New York where, they knew where I lived. And so when I went home to my parents' house, I remember the guy asking my mother on the phone, he said, I'll take good care of her. I'm just going to take her to dinner and whatever. Well, he didn't do any of that. He from the time I got into their car, he was groping, he was trying to kiss, all that kind of stuff. I didn't know him, so I felt that was real. I felt horrible. I felt that this was a wrong decision by me. Sometimes we make wrong decisions, but we don't know it, because the person may present themselves as being perfectly honest, on top of the world, got everything in control, and sometimes not. And yes, we do make decisions, and that was a bad decision. Thank you, ladies, for giving me that. That was a bad decision, because I went into the car door, and then of course we never went to dinner. They took me to he and his brother, we went to their house, and he proceeded to, I thought, pretty much molest. And he tried to talk to me once he brought me back to my house. He tried to talk to me again, and I said, never again. I said, you better hope and pray that I never let my family know, because I said, my brothers aren't right. I'm gonna tell you now. He says, oh, don't tell them. But there we are. Dangerous. Ooh, yes, yes, yes. Details. Dangerous. People come in. They come in like quiet, lambs. Nothing to it. Nothing to them. Just so sweet, so adorable, so comfortable, so pleasing. And then you find out, like when you see a lot of those crime shows, you find out that these people lived horrific lives once they met these individuals. Life changed behind closed doors. Behind closed doors. Not in a position to do much for themselves because they were being intimidated. They were being belittled. They were being made less than dirtbags. I love it. That's so true, but it's so true. But we sometimes have to have a discerning spirit. And sometimes we get a friendly spirit, a loving spirit, a kindly spirit, that we forget to pull up the gut-wrenching discerning spirit, which means, excuse me, no, you can't have my attention like that yet. I know nothing about you. I need to know more. Okay. And sometimes you can even say that people have been together for years and years and years, and you still don't know them. When they pass on is when you might learn about them. Just letting you know. Demonic mindset. Yes, 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 yes. So when we move in on our words of doors, we talk about the orientation, not the orientation of the room, but our orientation when we present ourselves to the room. Sometimes the room has already been set up. It's already in a position that says it is not good for us, but we don't see that. We don't see it. It may look attractive. It may look like everything's in order. But once we enter it, everything becomes in disorder. We become the obstacle that makes them go in an opposite direction of kind and good and fair and sweet and loving. So, oh, that's good. Who said observe? Yes, yes, yes. That's my next word for my second O, but thank you so much. See, y'all are on it today. Y'all are on it. But the orientation talks about the relative physical position or direction of something or someone, or it's the relative physical position or direction of who we are, us. Us. Who are we? When we go into a room, we need to know who we are, because some people will challenge you on who you are, what you're all about, what you're into. Okay. And if it's not them, guess what? Okay. Things may change. Dominance, all of a sudden you become ignorant. You become less attentive. They become less attentive in the right ways. They become aggressive, So we have to watch where we put our feet and heading into rooms. And it also says when you go into a room, you have to know where the exits are. And a lot of times bedrooms don't have an exit. It's just another room. If you're fortunate enough to have a bathroom suite, they might have another room there. But generally speaking, there's no access out of that bedroom except through that one door. So the orientation is important. So it talks about orientation would be the position, the positioning, the location, the situation you put yourself into, the alignment of how things are moving along, the bearings. It talks about the actual placement itself, the direction, and the location. And I think I said location twice, but to me, location is important. Sometimes we don't know, Have you ever gone through a job interview and the person that you're being interviewed by is the only one seemingly in the building? I prayed for them. And then what my prayer was is that I got out all right. And once I got out, I knew I wasn't never going back. Because, to me, to have a business, it's hard to say it's a business of one. If the person is kind of eerie, spooky, weird, with all the things that make it where you're already uncomfortable the first meeting, that's a red flag to me. It's a red flag. Outlook is great too, Debbie. When we move on in the word of doors, my second O is what Joan put up there. She has observe. I have observation. Observation is the action or the process of observing something or someone carefully or in order to gain information. A lot of times we enter rooms blindfolded. We know nothing, even though our eyes are wide open. We'll get a smile, we'll get a handshake, we might get a smirk, we might get a nod, gestures. But we don't know what's behind the gestures. We know nothing. And so we deal with it. We deal with it in such a way that may be positive. We deal with it in such a way that sometimes we end up staying longer or meeting these people more personally and setting up a second and a third time that we will meet. And we never know if the second time will give us more information about who they really are, or the third, or the fifth, or the 15th, or the years. Doors. Sometimes we need to go in them and not stay, because we should be pivoting and turning straight around the other way. I don't know if you all have seen that little baby that pivots on one foot to turn all the way around. It's pretty much a TikTok, legend kind of, video that has gone viral for years now. I think it's probably been out there 2-3 years. But the baby just nope. I see. I got to turn around, and because they're just learning how to walk, they don't know how to turn around and just turn around. Great. Nope. They do it really fast. Well, that's my pivot, is that I would pivot fast on looking at, people and allowing them any closer than what I used to be a lot more giving to and feeling comfortable with when I was younger. But observation is watching, it's scrutinizing. It says it's examining to the point where you know something. It's inspection. It's surveillance. Sometimes you never surveil anything, but you've been surveilled because they know you. They know you might be this wonderful woman that, worked hard and is now retired and doing all this, that, and the other thing, and available to them. Be careful. Pay attention. That's what also observation is. Pay attention. Study. Know people where they are supposedly, and then where they are not knowingly. That's what you got to do. Good morning, Erica. Happy Friday to you, my sweet dear. Ordeal. Yes, it is an ordeal. Sometimes when you're dealing with people, you may work with them. You work with these people and they're undermining you all the time. Flat out undermining you. Taking away things that you did, claiming it for themselves. But those are the doors you walk in, and you walk in to these to this door of your office, and you feel, well, I got a new job, they're going to pay me X amount of dollars. Then you find out that somebody else who does less work than you is paid much more than you at a higher salary. Pay attention. The doors. Sometimes we have to quit and leave out by exiting a door, because we know to stay in the room or the environment, in the building, in the car, only adds more to future irritation, future frustration, future hurts. So sometimes we have to be the big one and say, I know I'm getting ready to go down to unemployment. I know this. Or I know I'm going to go down where I don't have a boyfriend, or I don't have a girlfriend, or I don't have a job, nothing. But I have peace. I have peace. I have my personality. I have my understanding of who I am. I have my life. I have my life. Obstacles, yes. We move on in the word of doors. My R. Well, what would you put for an R before I give you mine? Because you all are pretty smart. What would you put for your R of doors that says that makes sense to you, the way we're addressing this word as our reality? Because all day long we're in and out of doors, we're in and out of people's presence, and then we're into a minute for ourselves before we're entering again. Reaction, okay. Reaction, reboot, okay. Retract, all right. Ardelia, you still on? You always have great words. I put reasoning, to reason. Sometimes we need to reason with ourselves. We need to give things a cause and a purpose. Most of the time when we go into a room, we're going in for a reason. We're going into work. We're going in to sleep. We're going in to take a shower. We're going in to leave to go to meetings. This is reevaluate. Yes. There's probably people who have reevaluated and gone into their situation that they avoided only because they were late, only because that they retracted or they refocused or they reevaluated leaving now instead of later, or leaving later instead of now. They avoided some stuff. Sometimes we never know how close we are to danger, or how close we are to not getting where we need to go, because somebody is standing in the doorway, standing in those doors, allowing people not to come in, and maybe not even allowing you to get out. Scary. Scary. Redirect. That's good. Recharge. Yes. I said reason. Reason says a cause and explanation or justification for an action, even when we know we need to place a cause on it. What grounds are we on? Sometimes we don't have the grounds that are concrete, but sometimes we have an unshakable feeling that we can't get rid of. We have some nerves in our stomach that tells us we need to check this out. We need to find out more about this situation, that person, that job, that, group, instead of just becoming consumed, overwhelmed, involved. We need to be our own fact finders, and sometimes we're afraid to fact find because it may change what we currently have. It may change it. It may change it because we love somebody, but they're not right for us, but we love them. And so we will give them a second chance and a third chance and a fourth chance. But yet and still behind the doors, it's not right. In the presence of others, it may look peachy. Everything looks wonderful. But behind the doors, it's not right. Redefine. That's really good. So anyway, the reason says that we should look for the rationale, the bias. We should have the bias, the motive, the purpose, the point, aim. What's the aim here? Theirs or yours? Okay, because sometimes you have to ask yourself those specific questions. What am I getting out of this? And if it's not where you still intact, still able to function independently, earnestly, honestly, feeling yourself as being worthy, then you need to ask these questions. How reasonable is it that I would hang here? What's the motive? What's my purpose for staying? What's their purpose for doing what they do? Ask the questions. Sometimes it says point. And when it says point the finger, point the idea, point the attitude, point the way forward for yourself by just realizing that everything doesn't lie in you, but everything doesn't lie for you. It's not yours. You may be actually put in a position where they have more to gain with you than without you. So therefore they may go to extremes to keep you. Doors. Pay attention. Then it talks about reason is intention. What's the intention of being around certain people? What are you receiving? What's the goals being met? And was it impulsive? Was it impulsive? Sometimes we go in rooms we're because we're investigators. We want to just be nosy, and our interest has been kind of tweaked. And so we're interested. So we want to go that way. But not everything that gives us a pop-up interest in our idea should be investigated. Sometimes we have to investigate privately where no one knows, that we're figuring out which way to go. So the reasoning is good. It also talks about, when you have something that's reasoning, it's also the impetus. What's the impetus that has me so, Debbie revved up about this person, or should I be revved up about myself and hightailing it out of here? You have to make those decisions. It has to be a decision. And then sometimes you have to make an arrangement. An arrangement is how you've reasoned going forward. The arrangement may be, I'm quitting this. I'm no longer a part of that. I'm not dealing with this person. Those are your arrangements, all on the reasoning that you came up with. And my S, finally, yay, is for stand. If there's nothing else that you should ever keep, is your stand. The way you are, who you are. No one should be changing you in front of doors, behind doors. They shouldn't. Separate. Yes, that's really good. Separate yourself from others. Yes. From others, other situations, job, whatever. Separate. That's very, very good, Ardelia. I'm like, something popped up on my screen here. I got it off. Also, significant. What is significant in our lives? And sometimes we find our worth in other people. I want every one of us to find our worth in ourselves. I don't want anybody to predict who I am, what I'm all about. You can find out as much as you want to know, and you probably are not going to have to deviate much from me being who I am. But the thing is that I don't want anybody that would make up stuff on me, that would lie about who I am, that would counteract who I am, or deny who I am, because people look at you and they see you for what they see you as needing to be. Remember that always. They're looking at that as a way of stripping you of your worth. You have to take your stance. You have to be firm and fixed, standing in a position, maintained upright, supported on 2 feet, mind right. I used to tell some of my clients that once, especially women who may lay down, okay, without being rude or nasty, but who may lay down because they love this person so much that when they get up, the person who that's all they really wanted them for has nothing positive about them once they are standing. So that's why I say stand, as long as you can. Understand that you own who you are, your worth, your erectness, your verticalness. You're on your feet. You stand up for what you believe. You can love who you love, but you have to make yourself special. Thanks, Joan. Thanks. And those are signs. Thanks, Debbie. You guys have been wonderful today, because this is a message to me that needs to go out to young women, older women, and even some men. I'm not going to make this a gender thing. Some men have absolutely been stripped of who they are based on what happens behind doors. You know, doors are good, in some instances. I remember when we were coming up, my mother didn't play it where a door was closed with her kids behind it. She did not play that. So we were in our room and we were playing. And I remember, I think I told you that once we got in our bedroom, it was one or two steps and you were right at the bed. So she didn't play all that. We couldn't get on the bed. So we were on the floor in that little bit of space. But the door was always open. She did it with the boys, with the girls, all of us. So we knew the rules. And I know when we were coming up, when I was younger and had my child, they were saying, "Oh, you should close the door and let them sleep and let them understand, their need to be, understanding being alone, but that it's only temporary and so forth and so on." I said, "Nah, I'm gonna leave that door open. I'm gonna leave the door open." So my daughter grew up with her bedroom door open. Now she tried to close it when she got to be a teenager, and I let her, but at one time, ask her, I took the door off. I took the door off, took the door handle off and the door. Okay. Because, teenagers can give you some trouble because all of a sudden they found out that, the world outside is so amazingly fun, amazing to learn, all the things that they do out there. And I said, that's okay, but they won't be done in here. So I took the door off and the handle. That's how I addressed it. They still grow up to be and do whatever they want to do. That's true. But my mother used to say, as long as you're in this house, you're going to do what I want done behind these doors. This is my house. And we did. So we understood the significance of it. But I want to read this poem before I leave, and you all leave me for the weekend. But it says, Open Doors by Melissa Kerman. And it says, one door I left open because I lacked its key, and if I closed the door, I'd lose the ability to re-enter. But I should have asked why. I craved access into a door that had a lock when I couldn't have its key. Another door I left open because although I rarely entered, I enjoyed the view. But I should have asked why my interior wasn't enough to satisfy me without peering at an exclusive exterior. A third door I left open because the breeze cooled my warm house, but when a hurricane scattered my papers and shattered frame pictures, I should have asked why I relied on the outside temperature to pacify my home's inside. I should have asked why some doors I was allowed in but never invited in, why I liked the option to leave, why I viewed doors as safety nets when I could have reconstructed my own home to be safer. I could never find closure, in my world of open doors. So I shut each and expected incessant knocking on mine. And yet, when I sat in silence, alone but not lonely, for the first time, I felt peace. It's good stuff. There's nothing else that can be said for that, but that is good stuff. So anyway, think about the doors you're entering and exiting this weekend. Make sure you're having peace. You're still knowing your self-worth. You're still feeling happy behind your doors, within your car, within your house, within the church, wherever you're going. Find yourself comfortable with the doors you are going in and out of. Listen, I love you guys. If you don't do anything else, hit the share button and let people know that Dr. Winnie is here with a few words of, are you stuck? Occasionally we are. Have a great weekend. I'll be back on Monday. See you then. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you. Bye-bye.